This is Anna, and this is Let's Talk Real. And I have a very special guest today. Her name is Beverly, and correct me if I say your name wrong. Matayoshi. Is that correct?
That's perfect.
Actually, she is a friend of mine. We haven't known each other for long, but I do admire her. She is very talented, and I am sure that you guys are gonna have great great listening tonight because she is amazing. And you guys gonna learn a little bit about what she's doing and how she's impacting her community and where are you from, Beverly, again?
I was born and raised in Hawaii on the island of Oahu. I'm from a town called Kaneohe, and I was born and raised. I mean, I wasn't born on, but I was raised on a farm.
Mhm.
We grew mostly bananas in the middle of a banana field over there, and sweet potatoes, Okinawan sweet potatoes.
Yeah,
But we had a 15-acre farm in Waihole Valley in Oahu. So that's where I'm from. I lived there my whole life until after I graduated high school, and then I moved to LA for college. I went to University of Southern California, and I've lived in LA for probably half my life after that. Yeah.
that's great. That's great. I didn't know that you were an identical twin, so that's a shock for me. And I'm kind of intrigued by it. So please tell us how's it like, to be a twin, and maybe you can give us a little, um, a little story, side story.
uh, Being a twin is probably like one of the things. Like growing up, I grew up as the youngest of five girls. No boys. It was just, five women, and my dad was the only man. And my mom, plus my mom, it was six. So it was kind of a cat fight every single morning. And me being the youngest and having an identical twin sister, we were the babies of the family. But yeah, as a twin, I love being a twin. Uh, I It's like you automatically have a BFF no matter what. So we've always felt that way about each other too, ever since, coming out of the womb. So, um, funny stories. Well, one story that I can think of is probably, I think it was like sophomore year in high school. She used to sit behind this boy that I had a crush on, and we had the same class, and we switched seats in class because I wanted to sit by him. And yeah, it was nobody knew in the whole class. The only person who knew was her and the boy. And nobody in class knew until the teacher asked her a question and called her Bev. And
Oh.
then she kind of was like, and then she looked at me and he's like, "Why are you looking at her?" And he's like, "Wait a second." And then everyone in class was like, "Oh my God." Like they totally didn't even realize what was happening. And then the teacher, he didn't send us to the principal's office, but he threatened to. He's like, "Don't ever do that to me again."
Awesome. I can think of the movie Trading Places, it's like
Yeah.
places, I always hoped or wished that I had a twin, and when I had to go to school, like she will go in my place when I didn't want to go, when I didn't want to get up. Like, you go, it's your time to go, and you take the test for me too, But yeah, I can imagine you guys have like similar taste, or do you guys? I know often with twins, they sometimes said that they have like a psychic connection, or like when you're in pain, she feels it. Does that happen to you guys?
Uh, I never experienced that, but hunger, yes, we'll be hungry at the same time, all the way across from Seattle to Atlanta, Georgia.
That's
Sometimes I'll be like, "Are you eating right now?" Because I'm hungry for some reason. But no, I don't know. We are very different in a lot of ways. As far as like musical taste, very different tastes, and personalities, we're kind of different there too, but we sound exactly the same, and people trip out when they hear us talk because they're like, "Oh my god, you guys sound exactly the same."
That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, that's very unique. It's something that I heard from friends that had twins, that they always had to feed them at the same time, and they kind of like lean the bottle on each other, because if one wakes up, then the other one wake up too, so it's funny that way. I mean, only having one baby, you're like struggling, like with just one baby. I cannot imagine having two babies.
My mom, on the other hand, she could not have kids. So what happened was she adopted 2. My 2 oldest sisters are actually my biological cousins, but, I mean, I've known them my whole life as my sisters, so that's what they are to me, but so my mom adopted them, and as soon as adoption papers were good, she got pregnant with my older sister, Daphne, and, right after that, she got pregnant with twins. So she went from 0 to 5 in less than 2 years.
Wow. Yeah. That's a big load, but I'm sure she was able to manage, but I know that we have talked about, we known each other, so I met you, we both work for the same team at the same firm, but I want the audience to know more about you. Like, tell us where what got you to where you are now, or what you're doing today.
Well, I've always been in the field of dentistry. Like my very first job I ever got in my whole life was at a dental office. I was actually in the chair getting my teeth cleaned, and the doctor, I actually just got done from having an interview at Jack in the Box right before my appointment. And I didn't get the job because I had zero experience. I was probably like 16 at the time. And yeah, he was just like, "Oh, what are you doing this summer?" And I was like, "Oh, trying to get a job," but I got declined at Jack in the Box right before this appointment. And he was like, "You want to work here?" And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, you can start right after your appointment." So that's how I got my foot in the door at the dental office.
That's
And yeah,
what you
that
need, right?
yeah. And then it's funny because when I moved to LA for college, um I I dropped out probably after like 1 semester. I went to USC and it was just so expensive and I didn't know what I wanted to major in. So I didn't want to spend, $50,000 a year on not knowing what I wanted to do. So I just I dropped out and I went to community college and I started working retail. And that's actually where I met my mentor for this business. Aisha Verzi, an incredible woman and a really good friend of mine. I've known her for like 23 years. And she was my boss at Nine West Shoes for Jones of New York. Um, and I just learned so much from her. Even though, I was getting paid like $9 an hour. It started at 7. And then I worked there for so long under her management, and I always looked up to her, and till this day I still look up to her. Amazing person. And yeah, through working retail is how I found my way back into dentistry. Like my coworker was a dental assistant part-time, and I was like, "Oh, I need my teeth cleaned." So I went over there, and the dentist was like, "Oh, what's going on in your life right now?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't want to sell shoes anymore." And she was like, "You want to work here?" And I was like, "Really?" I got my job over there the same way. So yeah, and eventually I went to dental hygiene school, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm a dental hygienist.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can corroborate. Aisha is great. When I met her at the firm, she's like a ball of energy. I love being around her because she's such a powerful woman, and she has a great story. One day I will invite her also to my podcast, as a guest. But let's talk about more about you. How do you empower yourself every day? What did you do? Do you have a routine?
I do. I started, on this journey of entrepreneurship and being an entrepreneur, which is probably one of the best things that ever happened to me, actually. It started during quarantine, toward the end of quarantine. And I keep telling Aisha, "Why didn't you call me in the beginning?" When I had all that time, but yeah, so I started, toward the end of May and I got licensed in June. But I my routine, I mean, I get up early and I go to sleep really late. I get up early. I listen to my morning mindset recording. I don't know if you guys have ever read that book Think and Grow Rich. He has this whole ritual for you to build confidence in there. And what I did was I wrote down my life goals and I read it on a recording. I tried to be very enthusiastic when I read it, but that way, when I'm working out in the morning or doing my, morning, having my coffee or whatnot, I can listen to it every morning and multitask at the same time. But I can hear my own voice telling my own story every single morning. And it's the story of my life that I want to live, the person who I want to be in the future. And it's really big shoes that I have to grow into. But um, I love listening to it every morning because it gets me pumped up and it keeps me focused on what I want to do.
Wow, that's awesome, and that's so powerful. Yeah, I believe Think and Grow Rich is like a Bible for the entrepreneurs.
It
Uh,
is.
our uh, our leader, the executive vice president Jeff Brookshire. He is such an amazing guy, but you can see he is so um, into his routine, and you can tell a person is successful, when they have a really strict routine. And I really admire him, and of course I want to be like him when I grow up.
Me
But
too.
he's awesome. But I think that what you're doing is great. I always read my mantras, and I look myself in the mirror, when I say these things, But I think it's very powerful when you listen to your own voice, and you're doing these affirmations continuously. It's just you're putting it out there, and then eventually it's gonna come to pass. Eventually, it's gonna materialize everything that you want. I believe that's how it works. The life in overall, and of course, being spiritual as well. But that's amazing what you do. Um, so tell me a little more. I think we got left off when it said that you made that transition from being working for the dental assistant and then into your entrepreneurship.
I am still a full-time dental hygienist. I do this business part-time, my business part-time, and it's crazy because uh, I never thought that I could handle all of this. Like it's so much. I'm also a single mom, so I have a lot on my plate, and it seems like a lot, but truthfully, like with everything that I've been learning since, June until now,
Mhm.
uh, every single day, I just feel like I'm getting stronger. My mind is doing push-ups every single day.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much I can handle in a 24-hour period. Like I never thought I could handle this much. I probably the last time I've had a load this heavy was when I was in dental hygiene school.
Mhm.
And I look at what I did back then, I'm like, "That's nothing compared to what I'm dealing with now," you know? So, yeah, I'm still a hygienist by day, and, I do this business as soon as I get home and on the weekends. Um, yeah, it's just very empowering. I highly advise people, if you want self-development, become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
That's like that's like the number one like lesson that you learn, is that you have to really build yourself up to be able to handle having your own business. And it's exciting and empowering, and just having that that purpose in life, and something that it's yours and it's nobody else's, and you do it for yourself. It makes it exciting to wake up every day, you know.
Yes, it does. It does. It changes your life, for the better. Maybe,
Yes.
yeah, maybe it takes everybody has their own time, For some people, it takes them a long time. For some people, it's like right away, that they start succeeding. But eventually, like, you are growing, you are, as much as you put into yourself growth, eventually you're going to blossom and you're going to become this great person that you want to be, and then become a leader, because these trainings are awesome. Like, I think they're top of the line, and they make you grow from the inside out. you know, you become a new person, but a better person, you know, very better version of yourself, which is, you know, most empowering. You mentioned, you know, you have children, and I was gonna ask, you know, how did you juggle, you know, being a full-time mom, and then have a full-time job, and, you know, being also a business owner? You know, it's a lot in your plate, but how do you do it? Did you have a secret formula?
There's no secret. There's just, it's you find a way. For some reason, when at the beginning, when I first moved here to Georgia, I was in such a crazy place. I our my relationship with my kid's father ended, and it was really bad experience. We're friends now. It took us a long time to get to this point, and we are much better parents, I think, as friends than we were as a couple. But it that whole process of building yourself back up after ending a relationship, it's you learn I learned a lot about myself, and I learned that a lot of the problems was the way I dealt with my problems, the way I handled my own emotions. And that's one thing that I even though it was a terrible experience, like, I don't regret any of it, because um for one thing, I do know that I learned how to be emotionally aware. And that's kind of I learned a new word this weekend, on LinkedIn. There was something, an article that I read about emotional intelligence. Is that what they call it? And I've really, really put a lot of time and effort into becoming more emotionally intelligent ever since I moved here to Georgia until now. And that's a period of almost 6.5 years. And I just feel like that's something that we need to instill into our kids at a young age. And I don't know why we don't focus on that. And I don't remember learning that as a child. And I really, really, really encourage people to focus on that, not only in yourself first, and then instilling those values into your kids, because life is so much easier. Your relationships, everything you do is easier when you are aware of how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way and how to deal with it. Like, I we don't get taught these things in school,
No.
you know.
Well, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I totally hear where you're coming from. I call it like, I had to learn to harness my emotions, you know, because sometimes we try to repress, you know, because being on the field, being an entrepreneur, being working for corporate America, you're looked it's looked at to being emotional, being a woman, period. You know, we're very emotional beings, but being emotional in the workplace is looked at as a weakness. So you always had to like maintain, you know, this like a, you know, strong, you know, demeanor, you know, and almost like poker face, you know, non emotional. And it's so hard for us women, because we are caring by nature. We're nurturers, you know. We carry our emotions like right at, you know, right at front. So it's I called I harness my emotions, because I had to, you know, learn to um, how to control them. You know, when I'm in different places. You know, when I'm at home, of course, I'm free and I can express myself freely. But in certain places, you know, like in the workplace, corporate America, you know, they're very cutthroat, and you have to, you know, harness your emotions, you know, to be able to maintain, you know, certain you know, the way that they expect you to perform. And it took me a while, you know, because I used to be very sentimental. You know, I used to cry a lot, and I start a speech, and then I, you know, half the way through it, I'm like, you know, sobbing. So it was hard, you know. But I can totally get where you're coming from with that, being emotional intelligent. You know, that's something amazing. And yeah, it's something that we don't learn, that they didn't teach us. You know, but of course, you know, our parents probably didn't know this either, so they only equipped us with what they have. And now that we are empowering, you know, ourselves. And that's why it's so important, you know, because you're putting time on yourself. You're putting all this oh, you're getting all these tools, so you're empowering yourself, but you're also like gonna empower your children. Your children are gonna learn from you. They're gonna learn all these great things that mommy is doing. So I'm so excited for you and so excited for your future. So that was my next question. So what is your future goals? Do you have any future goals? What do we expect from you, like let's say in about 3 years?
Well, in 3 years, I definitely want to be a homeowner, and I always have lofty goals. I want to have no mortgage. I want to own my house completely. I want to be debt free, and I'm almost there with the debt free goal. I started my financial um, journey. Uh, my enlightenment happened not too long ago. It was just on December 31st, 2019. I made a commitment to myself. I was like, I'm done struggling, just making ends meet. I'm going to make this happen for myself. And that's when my journey, just gaining control of my over my finances, started. And I took that Financial Peace University class by Dave Ramsey. I'm sure lots of people have heard of that.
Mhm.
Um, and it was very educational. I really believe in the way he teaches people to tackle their debt, because he emphasizes the importance of feeling the pain of paying that money back. It's the only way you're going to change your behavior of spending your money, like throwing the money up in the air like confetti.
Mhm.
Every time you get your paycheck, I don't know where my money goes. It's just buying stuff here and there, eating out, like I learned so much with just that. Just I think the main takeaway I have learned that has changed my life dramatically, instantly, was learning how to budget. It
Mhm.
sounds so cliche and simple. It's
Mhm.
simple math. It's elementary school math, but I never knew how to budget. I didn't want to budget. The thought of budgeting made me cringe, and it just sounded boring, and I hated doing it, and um but now I do not make any decisions without consulting my budgeting app. Like, even if I want to buy a stick of gum, I'm like, I'm putting it in there, to the penny. I really budget down to the penny, and I do not deviate, not by a single penny. And it took me like 3 months to get the hang of it. I sucked at it at first. Like, the first month, it was, like, negative all over the place. I overspent and I just beat myself up, but then after 3 months of consistently doing it, I got the hang of it, and now it's become a habit, and I feel guilty if I buy anything without looking at that app. So, I it's changed my life. I feel a lot more control in my life now. I know where my bills are gonna get paid. I
Mhm.
know where my money is gonna get saved, and, it's a huge game changer, budgeting, and it's allowing me to pay off my debt, and I'm almost there. When that day happens, I'm gonna do something huge to celebrate.
But don't overspend.
Yeah, exactly.
Party. That's awesome. That's so smart, and it takes a lot of discipline. I myself, I'm kind of like loose with money. My mom used to say it's like when money gets to your hand, like it's like itching you, like you need to get rid of it. And I was like, yeah, like you're right. It's like water, it goes through my fingers. But yeah, it's that habit, like creating good habits. I believe that's the key. And good habits could be like budgeting. Sometimes we think like budgeting is like embarrassing, but it's not. Like I don't mind using coupons, whenever I get a chance to use them. But yeah, the budgeting app, that sounds awesome. You need to pass me that link.
I will.
And
It's
and
free.
I'm sure a lot of people didn't know about it. I have heard Dave Ramsey, and he's great. His teachings are awesome, but I never got to see that what he talked about that app. So yeah, looking forward to that. So this is a question that I asked to all my guests, and is if money was not the object, money was no issue, what would you do? What goals would you fulfill? what dreams would you, would you do?
Man, if money, I just had an abundance so much that I could give freely, like, or do anything with it. Well, I'm a very creative person, so I definitely would do something creative. And probably one of my fantasies, I call it a fantasy because it's just so out there. Um, I I wanna I wanna produce a musical full-length feature film movie. Like, something cool, like, I want it to be something that, you know, I can write music for, but, tell a story, a very emotionally compelling story as well. I love storytelling. I've always wanted to be a writer, and I've written short stories here and there, but I've never did a big project like that. And I have a lot to learn. I've been speaking to a lot of people on what that entails to make something like that. And it costs a lot of money, a lot. So, yeah, and that's one of my big dreams. And then my other dream is I want to start like a charity fund for um, somehow providing, people who need, like, full mouth reconstruction. Like, a lot of creative people, they focus so much on their craft that they neglect other parts of their lives, especially their health. Um, I know you hear stories of all kinds of musicians with messed up teeth, and like Keith Richards, for example. He's like one of the most incredible guitar players and songwriters of all time, and I'm sure he has thousands of dollars in his mouth, and he can afford that. But there's a lot of musicians out there, or creative people, or not even creative people, just people who have let themselves go, but they want to move forward, but it's gonna cost them like 50 grand to move forward. I have some patients like that. They come to see me religiously every 3 months, and they will find the money to get their teeth cleaned, but to get their mouth fixed, it's gonna cost 50 grand, and they don't have that. So I wanna be able to give that to people, and just be like, "Here you go." Like, eventually, if I had that kind of freedom, that would just make me so happy, and, uh, it would be like a really big project, a baby that I would build, so that way I can make that happen.
That's amazing. I love it. I love that because I didn't realize, how people feel about their looks, until my mom, she lost one of her crowns, and it really like brought her down, like in the press mode, even because her confidence level well went way down, and it's amazing, when you feel good, when you talk to people, you're presenting yourself, but you have to feel good, before you are in front of people. And yeah, for a while she was isolating herself until she got her crown back. So I know the impact, that people do have, like in dentistry or dental, I don't know how you call it, aesthetic, or
Mhm.
because it does, it's part of your confidence level. If you don't feel good, or if you don't look good, if you see yourself in the mirror and there's something wrong, it's gonna bring down your self-esteem.
It
So it's
is.
very important, and that way you're empowering people too, because once they feel good, they start, when they start looking good, they start feeling good, right?
Exactly.
That's
Yeah, but it's not even only about looks. It's about being healthy, like in your mouth. I mean, it's just, there's so much bacteria in your mouth, and that's connected to your whole body. It's not just I mean, if it's out of control in there, it can affect, it's a constant immune response that your body is going through, and it puts you in fight or flight mode all the time. You may not think you are because you're laying down on a couch, but your body's fighting the bacteria that's constantly working, and your body's constantly working, and it just makes, if you have health problems already, it just makes it way harder to
mm,
manage. So, like, a lot of people just, they don't think about their mouth, as something they have to take care of all the time, because it takes a long time for you to feel pain. And pain is usually the primary motivating factor for people, but especially when it comes to their teeth. But it's so huge, and the patients that do understand it, like, they do not miss an appointment. Like, they will pre-schedule and they will show up. If they don't show up, it's like, "What's going on?" You know? So, I mean, but you have to educate people. I have to educate people, because and it's the same thing with finances.
Mhm.
If you're not educated, you're not going to behave the way you're supposed to behave. It really, you have to be aware. Your emotional intelligence as well. Like, you're not going to behave the way you're supposed to behave if you just don't know. So
Right.
education is so important.
Definitely, education is power, and I'm glad that you have the heart to want to share that knowledge with other people, because people are so selfish, nowadays, and but you're a giver, you like to give, and that's amazing, I applaud you that, and I hope that will come to pass one day, because it's a good I mean, it's a great mission, that you put in yourself out there for others, and I think that's when abundance comes. It's not like, oh, I want. It's like, what do once you have it, once you have all these riches, what are you gonna do with it? How are you gonna help others? Because it's not all for you. It's for other people. But before we go, I know you're a great musician, so I will want ask you if you can delight us with one of your songs or covers. And for our listeners, I always want to bring value to them, and I know that they will love what you have to offer.
uh, I haven't practiced in a really long time, so you're gonna have to forgive me if I'm not. I'm a little rusty, but um, thank you so much for asking me to do this, because I rarely get the opportunity to have a reason to practice. So,
Oh, I only heard you once, but it was good enough for me. You're ready.
well,
Um,
this song is a cover by Seal. It's called Crazy. And I think it's very relevant to what we're doing with our business. The kind of person you have to be in order to succeed, or get what you want in life. So, gosh, I hope I can do it without messing up. But
so much.
can you hear me okay?
Good. I'm gonna mute myself so you can come across good. Okay.
A man decides after 70 years that what he goes there for is to unlock the door. Yet those around him criticize and sleep. Ha. And through a fractal on that breaking wall, I see you, my friend, and touch your face again. Miracles will happen as we trip. Ha. But we're never gonna survive unless we get a little crazy. But we're never gonna survive unless we are a little crazy. Are the people walking through my head? One of them's got a gun to shoot the other one. Yet together they were friends at school. Ha. Why? If all were there when we first took the pill, then miracles will happen as we speak. Ha. never gonna survive unless we get a little crazy. But we're never gonna survive unless we are a little crazy. Hey, yeah. No, we'll never survive unless we get a little bit crazy. And no, we'll never survive unless we get a little bit in a sky full of people. In a world full of people. In a heaven of people, yeah. Ooh. In a sky full of people, there's only someone to fly. Isn't that crazy? Crazy.
Woo! Wow, that's amazing. Wow. I had to
Thank
hold
you.
back myself from start dancing, but that was awesome. That was awesome, Bev. Thank you so much for being here in the little podcast. And I am so happy to meet you, and I can't wait, to see you blossom into the beautiful, entrepreneur, musician, you know, altogether package that you are.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate you. And I look forward to becoming lifelong friends.
Yes, yes, for sure. So, we're gonna say goodbye for now, but stay tuned because Beth is coming, and she's got a lot to offer. Thank you so much. We'll see you, and as always, take care and God bless.
Bye bye.